everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the President and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for a Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. I've got lots of things in store today for the address, and based on some feedback, which I always welcome, I will actually be incorporating a lot more health center centric information. We've got lots of viewers and family members that are from health center residents and families. We want to make sure that your needs are getting attended to. So that's a definite for us, which will start today. And also to incorporate some educational type things, not to extend the length of the weekly address, but just to kind of address some kind of frequently asked questions and other things that come up. Obviously, if I have a very extensive weekly address, we won't, do these educational type things. But I think what I'll use is frequently asked questions within the last week or two to inform some of these kinds of things. To get started, I would like to just give an update on where we are with the walk-in coolers for the main kitchen and the Cisco Rent a Tractor Trailer. We are moving right along with that project. At this point, the actual construct of the walk-ins is complete, and we are now in what we call the MEP phase, or mechanicals, electrical, and plumbing, or in this case, sprinkler installation for those walk-ins. If all goes well, we expect to be able to clear the cooler out, the temporary cooler out, and begin use of the walk-ins, the new walk-ins, by midweek next week. We do thank everyone for your patience. Again, as always, if you witness anything or observe anything that is of concern related to this project or anything else, please do let us know. The next thing that I wanted to mention is we are currently in a high wind advisory. I'm noticing some wind gusts out my window, but this will go until about 4 o'clock this evening. What this could mean, as always, is the risk of power outage. I don't think it's particularly high at the moment, but it's just always a good reminder that in independent living, it is indeed independent living, and every resident is responsible to make sure that you've got sort of the basics that you would need should the power go out. A battery powered light source that's charged and you know where it is, keeping your cell phones continually charged, those kinds of things. And for our newer residents or residents that may have had a change in condition in independent living, it's very important that if you rely on electric for life-saving means, like for plugged-in oxygen concentrator or CPAP machine, that you do let concierge know. We do maintain a list of those people because independent living is not on emergency power. This way we can attend to that if that was ever to occur. And similarly, if you cannot ascend or descend a set of stairs and would need to in order to evacuate in independent living, please do make sure that concierge is aware of that as well. Okay, so some health center things as promised, and then we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit. Today is actually a health center committee meeting. If you have not attended one of those meetings, as with all of our resident council committee meetings, these are open. And I would definitely encourage you to think about filling your 2 o'clock hour with a health center committee meeting today. They're very robust. It's a very well-entrenched committee, very active. They use a series of liaisons to report on each of the different areas from the community. And certainly, I'm sure that they would enjoy more residents to attend. As always, all committee meetings are open to any resident, regardless of where you reside in the community. And these are centrally located in the classroom on purpose so that our health center residents and our independent living residents alike can enjoy the meetings. At 5 p.m. today, we have our quarterly family council meeting for the health center. This is available both in person in the classroom at 5 and as well on Zoom. You will have a number of management representation, including myself, Philip Mail, who is our licensed nursing home administrator, some of our social services staff, activities staff, and others as invited. We hope and welcome as many family members from independent living and also from outside of the community. If you have a resident loved one in the health center, it's a great hour for Q&A. We are working on compiling some FAQ documents based on, we started with Garden View. We asked the families to submit some of their, more continual or pervasive questions. We're going to put a document together and sort of see as a prototype if this kind of information, we get it out to families, loved ones in advance of the questions arising, if it's helpful. So we're working through that. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Philip Mail, who is our licensed nursing home administrator, but also very well versed on the following topic, will be giving a presentation at 2 p.m. in the PAC, brought to us by the LGBTQIA+ and Allies Interest Group. He'll be presenting on what is sexual orientation, gender identity, and all those terms and pronouns I don't understand. This will be aired on 1340, and we will record this for our YouTube channel. But really important in the days of use of pronouns and all the things that Philip will be talking about. It's confusing. It's always great to have an opportunity to educate ourselves. Tomorrow, also at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, simultaneously, which is kind of a conflict, but there's always lots going on here. There will be the monthly health center birthday party held in the Great Room. So anyone that has a birthday during the month of January will be celebrated, and BB Farber will be entertaining. Friday at 1:30 in the PAC, Dr. Randall Estwick, who is one of our residents and a licensed physiatrist, is going to be presenting an encore of his former presentation of gait in ambulation and walking and reduction in falls. His presentation will emphasize your actual gait, so how you're walking, taking steps, and so forth, how the mechanics of that all kind of works together, and ways that you can reduce fall risk. Sunday at 2 p.m. in the PAC, we will have the students of a local music teacher, Julian Baker, will have a recital. So that'll be at 2 p.m. in the PAC. Coming up, we have the second annual Valentune opportunity. So our activities staff from the health center will be doing singing telegrams. They did this last Valentine's Day for the bargain price of $3. All of which goes to the fundraising efforts of our brain health group, which supports the Alzheimer's Association. You can sign up for that on a form at concierge or reception, or you can email Sue Close. Her email address, as are all at Woodland Pond, is the first initial and last name. So in her case, sclose@wpatnp.org. And those can be billed to either a payroll deduction if you're a staff member, or charged to a resident's monthly bill. And they were really well received last year. The staff goes around and does the singing telegrams. They do provide a choice of songs, as far as I remember. So good to go on that. Just one more update before I go into a little bit of an educational session on the security of the units in the health center and what that all means. I announced, I think last week, that this past Friday, our executive team was going to be off-site at a special retreat, a leadership retreat. And we held that, and it was really, really valuable. 2025 is seeing Woodland Pond really embracing a lot of change in our physical environment related to renovation, possibility of expansion. But we're also really looking at how to enhance our strategic plan in a way that was not necessarily contemplated the first time we adopted it in 2017. And that initial plan was our first after we de-affiliated from Health Alliance. And it focused on really programmatic and sort of day-to-day opportunities related to growth and financial stability, being an employer of choice, quality. But what we really want to do now as we go into this next iteration, that was a 5-year strategic plan with a 1-year hiatus for COVID. As we go into our new iteration of strategic planning, and this is all overseen by a special committee of our board of directors working with management. we've got 15 years of operations under our belt, and we have a team, an executive team that's mostly comprised of people that have an extensive tenure here. We want to really take the lead and face head on succession planning, not just at, for example, the C-suite level, but really at the entire management level, and really looking at critical positions, understanding what succession looks like. We've got folks that potentially could be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. And we really have decided we're going to take a proactive approach on this. So, simultaneous to working on an active succession plan for each of our critical positions, which will be presented to the board in June at our annual meeting. The purpose of this past Friday's meeting was to do the same kind of eyes wide open risk. What was it called? A risk register, prepare a risk register for the entire enterprise, for the entire organization. And this was facilitated by our board chair, Chris Druin, and a newer board member, Kristen Johnson. And we did this offsite at a rental available workspace. And it was really, really valuable to be offsite together as a team and really to be focused on this sole issue. And if you were to come to the administrative office yesterday, today, tomorrow, you are going to see big, giant pieces of paper that list out by department every single risk that we could identify. And we went department by department. We took the time. We were there for about 8 hours and really delved into an enormity of risks. And again, between now and the June annual board meeting, the task that I have set forth for our team, again, in keeping with the strategic plan and organizational preparedness, is that we have flushed out the entire risk register. Each of those risks have been prioritized in terms of how great of a risk it is to the community based on a number of factors, how likely it is for that risk to come to fruition, and then attaching those to existing mitigating factors or explaining the path to mitigation. What are our opportunities? I'm so excited about this. I feel like we've had so much time to really understand the both existential and macro level risks, as well as individual very specific risks by department and to the organization. And I think, again, facing this head on is exactly the right place to be as we're looking at a period of significant change. So we hope you're along for the ride on that. Some residents did send me some risk items, which we did incorporate into our discussions on Friday. If you have a list of risks in your head and you'd like us to include those, please do feel free. There's no time frame on that, but we are actively working on this as we speak. Okay, so education. Today, I would like to talk about what it means to have secure units in the health center, how secure they are, and how there are sort of built-in exceptions to security in the health center. In both memory care or garden view and skilled nursing, most of you are aware that those are considered to be secure units. And what that means is that both of those require badge access to enter and exit those units. These are specifically designed to ensure the safety and security of those residents that might be exit seeking due to cognitive impairment or other things. What these units are not is completely locked. They could never be completely locked. And if you were ever to go onto the units and be within the units and be attempting to leave the units, you will see on the exit doors very large worded language that says something to the effect, I'm not going to say the exact words right here, but basically, if you push on this bar for 15 seconds, this door will open. So while those doors are closed and sealed or secured through our badge system and the infrastructure, from a fire safety perspective, you could never have a unit that's completely locked and have people locked in. Number one, it would not be ethical, certainly. But number two, from a fire and building code perspective, it's simply not permitted. And to go a step further, not only is it important that we as the provider know that you push on the door for 15 seconds and then it will open, but the building code requires that the signage be right there. So what does that mean? That means that, yes, we have the mechanisms in place that notify us, for example, if someone has been care planned to require a wander guard bracelet, which is somebody that is particularly exit seeking. There's a sensor by the door that when they get too close to the door, their wander guard will activate. Now, not all residents in skilled nursing and memory care have these because not every resident is actively exit seeking. But for those that are at risk of exiting the unit, we do utilize these wander guard bracelets and they alarm at the door before the person gets there. The thing about the wander guards, though, is that residents have to be willing to wear them. We see very regularly that depending on where someone is in their progression of cognitive impairment, that they will either refuse to accept a wander guard bracelet in the first place, or that they will cut them off or find other ways to remove them. They are not, like a chain link. They are, thin metal that has a sensor in it covered in plastic. Over the years, we have come up with family permission, some creative ways to, attach a wander guard, to a clip on the back of their shirt, or put it on the ankle, or other places that might not be so obvious if we do have a particular concern about someone that's exit seeking and has otherwise declined to accept a wander guard. So again, there is a subset of residents that require a wander guard. They alarm before that person gets to the exit door. But regardless, there are folks that can easily read the sign that says, if you hold this push bar down for 15 seconds, this door will open. And many of you know, if you have, experienced the progression of cognitive impairment or emotional interruption with your loved ones or yourself, that there can be moments of lucidity and there can be moments of cognitive impairment. It all depends on where someone is in their progression. So while someone may seem like they're cognitively impaired in terms of, good decision making or forward thinking or short-term memory, it's very possible that any of our residents that still has the ability to read can walk up to one of these doors, push on the door for 15 seconds, and leave the unit. So what do we do in that case? Well, number one, the most important thing is that Woodland Pond has invested in 24/7, around the clock personnel to be assigned and seated at our reception desk, which is the desk that is in the health center lobby. As a matter of fact, not only do we have someone there 24/7, but overnights we actually now have 3 full-time staff members that rotate through that desk and also do additional security rounding. So this is not just a during the day thing. And that's really an enormous, safety provision for our residents that do, for any reason, leave those secure units. The expectation of the state regulators is that someone may leave the physical unit, but Woodland Pond staff must know where they are at all times. Otherwise, it's considered to be an elopement, which is a capital E violation of our regulations. So someone can leave to go with their family member, and we know that, and they've signed out. Someone can choose to go through those doors. And as long as our staff members are fully aware of where they are and we are keeping eyes on them, even if they were to walk out the door, if a nurse follows them and we know exactly where they are, let's say that they're resistive and cannot be redirected, we don't want to create a situation where someone is placed in harm's way. For example, we would never go hands-on with someone to keep them in that place. But our care plans and our staffing patterns allow that if someone is very determined to leave the unit, they are able to leave through that 15-second press. Let's say they cannot be redirected by the reception staff, the nursing that's following them. Our nurses or staff will very, very often, when this happens, literally follow a resident from behind outside. Let's say it's an ambulatory resident. And that is all allowable under the plans of care and individualized service plans under the regs. When it becomes a problem is if any resident that is someone that doesn't have the ability to freely move about based on their care plan and their cognition is gone without Woodland Pond's knowledge, and we don't know where that person is. So it's very important that folks understand that while those units are secure, our responsibility lies with the resident themselves. Kind of think of it like man on man defense for basketball or football versus zone defense. We can't do zone defense, not allowed. We can't just secure a unit. We have to secure the resident, and that's how we do it. I hope that this has been helpful. I'm sure there's other questions that I could answer in that regard. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one of the most instrumental parts of this. We have a robust series of cameras, both within common areas of our buildings and outdoors, and we are always able to add more. These are hardwired cameras. A number of us, all of the reception and concierge staff, can access them at our desks and also on our phones if it's off hours or whatever it is. But these cameras allow us to try to make sure that we can keep eyes on people. Now, this is not enough for that man-on-man defense to satisfy the state that we know where someone is. They would actually have to be physically followed by someone. But so, for example, let's say that there's a fender bender in the parking lot, or there's an independent living resident who is not requiring a secure unit. But let's say that they go out and we hear their purrs go off, and let's say that we can't find them. We often will use our camera systems outside to track them from one camera to another, and then we can find them. So these camera systems are fantastic. They're high quality. We used to use a battery-based system that ran off Wi-Fi, and we decided when we were planning for our emergency exercise last year with the first responders and law enforcement that it was really time for a camera upgrade. I've just authorized Jason to purchase another dozen or so to have on hand that we can put into places that we consider to be a higher risk. But currently we've got them all over the places that might be a point of entry. And places that residents and staff regularly traverse on the parking lots and so forth. So if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything that you'd like to learn more about on this, please do contact me at my email address. Mine is mtgromoglia@WPATNP with that T, very important. I was getting hacked and spammed all the time, so we had to add my middle initial, or just call the front desk and give me a ring, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I hope that this has been helpful, and I'd love feedback. Thank you.